not too happy with Congress, President Trump, over the past
few days.
No, and you could tell yesterday he was firing off on Twitter because you would think that health care is dead, right? We're going to move on to tax reform. We're going to move on to infrastructure. Well, not so fast, because President Trump took to Twitter yesterday and fired off these round of tweets. He said, after 7 years of talking repeal and replace, the people of our great country are still being forced to live with imploding Obamacare. If a new health care bill is not approved quickly, bailouts for insurance companies and bailouts for members of Congress will end very soon. So he's threatening. He's saying, look, I'm going to take away your health benefits, Congress. Says, look, unless Republican senators are total quitters, repeal and replace is not dead. Demand another vote before voting on another bill. So is that a smart move? Everyone kind of holds up Congress and says, you know, it's so nice that you have this cushy health care
What would happen with any other job or business or industry? You would be fired or you would go bankrupt. There is no accountability for Congress today.
Here's my concern with that threat, though, is a lot of the individuals in Congress, not all, but a lot of them, are independently wealthy. They've made so much money. This isn't going to impact them as much as I think the president would like it to as a threat.
Right. It's just, I think this is just a symbolic
way to rile up the American people, too, against them.
I mean, but to get them to say, look, get back to, you're taking 5 weeks off. He didn't mention that, by the way, your 5-week recess, which, remember, Mitch McConnell had slammed. So we're not going to do this recess. We're going to get health care through. And then I guess he went back on his recess message. So they're all off for August. Get back to Washington. Get something done. People are suffering right now. Why are you off for 5 weeks?
But to your point, Todd, I mean, a lot of members of Congress don't live in reality. I think that's what he's saying. It's like, you know what? Go see what it's like to live under the Obamacare exchanges. Let's see how that is for your life and for your family. And so he's really threatening them. And I think a lot of the American people would agree with that. They're so fed up with the lack of accountability with our congressional members. So what do you guys think? Do you think that the president should cut Congress's health benefits? Email us that this morning as well, friends@foxnews.com, because I think a lot of people are like, at this point, what do we do? You know, you can't fire them, right?
I'm going to be curious if any of our viewers say, no, he should keep them. Please let us know, friends@foxnews.com. We're going to blow up the email inbox this morning.
We'll read the one person who says, we want him to keep it. I keep going back to that one lady I met this week in Ohio who... double income, no kid family, both working very, very hard. She was running the Hampton Inn where we stayed. They can't afford health care. And she looks at other individuals who, in her estimation, are on welfare and who are getting free health care. The problem is there. Something needs to be done. And now you hear the Democrats saying, oh, there are problems. We have to fix those problems. Where were you over the course of the last 7 years, if you will?
Because they realize they've got an election themselves around the corner, and how do they go to their constituents and say, well, we've done nothing on health care?
Let's talk about sanctuary cities this morning. We haven't talked about this in a little while here on the Curvy Couch, but there's some big news out of Portland, Oregon this morning, and a really disgusting story out of Portland, Oregon. You know, we were talking about what happened on Long Island. We talked President Trump talking to the police forces there, saying we've got to crack down on MS-13. We've got to get to the heart of these illegal immigrants who are coming in and really destroying these communities. Well, now this guy, Sergio Jose Martinez, we learn, arrested and deported 20 times, is back in custody this morning. New charges against him: first-degree kidnapping, first-degree robbery, second-degree sexual assault, first-degree sexual abuse, first-degree sodomy, first-degree burglary. He assaulted an elderly woman.
I mean, just horrific. Just horrific. 20 times, though.
That's
you think about being deported 20 times, and because of sanctuary cities, I guess ICE was not alerted about this guy. When we talk about sanctuary cities, because we do that so much on the show, this is not about politics. This is just about common sense, right? I mean, I don't know when it became sort of this political back and forth, Republicans versus Democrats. I think if you're an American, you should care about reporting someone like this to the authorities to get them out of this country.
What I just don't understand is that number 20. That number should be 0. And the fact that there are individuals who run these sanctuary cities who think that number 20 is somehow okay. Think about that.
Well, he's been living as a transient for a long time now, and he's been deported more than 20 times. His most recent was back in November of 2016, just recently. And he's car theft back in 2008, criminal trespassing in early part of this year, just after Christmas, methamphetamine possession, burglary. And if this was anybody else's rap sheet, they'd be locked up for years.
Absolutely.
The fact that he is shrouded in this sanctuary city blanket, he gets, you know, ICE agents are able to look the other way, and he's able to roam free.
I do think you have to give President Trump credit here when we talk about MS-13. You know, when I was speaking to those
Right.
parents yesterday of their 16-year-old girl who was allegedly murdered by the gang members of MS-13. I mean, it's so real. And they said for the first time this past year, you know, our community, this has become a focus. Actually, people outside of where we live know what MS-13 is. I didn't know what this was before a year ago. So you do have to give the administration credit for stepping up and recognizing what a big issue this is and cracking down on that.
What was so fascinating to me on Friday when I went out to the Trump speech there in Long Island, there were individuals that were anti-Trump who were calling him racist and were really sort of hitting that point hard without any backup. Then I was on the Trump side, and there was a lovely, I don't want to cite her age, but she was a middle-aged woman who spoke very, very little English. But she was so for what President Trump was doing. She was Latina, and she was saying, I have worked my entire life. I have worked so hard, worked 3 jobs, put kids through school. I don't want these people coming here and ruining my country. And she was so passionate about it, and it was so inspiring to me. And then you have these people on the other side who are just angry to be angry. And that's where we are in this country, and that's what has to stop.
Yeah.
All right, let us know what you think about this. Friends at FoxNews.com. We'll talk to some experts on this coming up a little bit later in the show.
Turning now, though, to some other headlines we're following, starting with a Fox News alert. And airport security is on high alert after a terrorist plot to blow up a passenger plane has been foiled by police. 4 people arrested in anti-terror raids conducted in multiple neighborhoods in Australia.
Early days in the investigation, as I said before, we do believe it is Islamic-inspired terrorism. Exactly what is behind this is something that we will need to investigate fully.
At least one suspicious device was found, but the exact details of the plot have not been revealed. We'll keep a close eye on that one. And a rare summer storm causing massive flooding on the East Coast. More than 3 inches of rain falling in West Virginia, turning backyards into rivers. Take a look at that. Officials declaring a state of emergency in 6 counties and calling in the National Guard to help evacuate some residents. Flooding also across southern New Jersey, with millions impacted in Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. And you may remember this moment when Sarah Huckabee Sanders began a press briefing by reading a letter from a 9-year-old President Trump fan, best known as Pickle. After hearing that letter, many on the internet were quick to take to social media saying Pickle didn't exist. Well, this morning, many of those Pickle truthers, they're now admitting they were wrong after Fox and Friends interviewed Pickle yesterday morning.
Why did you write that letter?
Why did you write the letter to Trump, Bunny?
Because I wanted him to be my friend.
Dylan told us he plans to take up an offer from the White House for a tour, to which we said, I hope they serve you pickles when you go.
Pickle is real. Pickle changed our show yesterday.
The fact that we say pickle truthers is sickening. You heard President Trump say Republicans look like fools after failing to pass a HealthCare bill. So what can the president do to drain the swamp and get something done? Eric Erickson has a suggestion next.
And remember this brilliant program, Send Terrorists to Rehab, to change their jihadi ways? Turns out they said no. No, thank you.
Shocking. Welcome back. Well, the president making his message clear as a last-ditch effort to repeal Obamacare fails in the Senate. In a series of tweets, he says Republicans in the Senate will never win if they don't go to a 51-vote majority now. They look like fools and are just wasting time. 8 Dems totally control the U.S. Senate. Many great Republican bills will never pass, like Kate's Law and complete health care. Get smart. Well, here to weigh in, Fox News contributor, founder of The Resurgent, Eric Erickson. Eric, great to have you with us so early this morning. Thanks for waking up.
Thank you.
So what's your response to that specific tweet there? You say you don't agree with that.
Yeah, listen, the Republicans couldn't get 51 votes for health care. Trying to get rid of the filibuster right now, I don't think is something that they need to commit to. Frankly, because of the rules of the Senate, they would have to have 2/3 vote of the Senate right now to even get rid of it. The only way you get rid of the filibuster right now is to wait until 2019 after the U.S. Senate election, because in the middle of the Senate, to try to change the rules, it takes a 2/3 vote. So again, though, the Republicans couldn't get 51 votes to pass health care.
What about going after Mitch McConnell, majority leader in the Senate? I mean, everyone was saying he's the mastermind behind rallying these votes, getting enough of them for a bill to pass. Clearly, that has not been the case time after time. Can the president go directly after Mitch McConnell?
Well, you know, I think he needs to go around Mitch McConnell and to go to some of the people he's protected, like Lisa Murkowski, who would not be in the Senate, except Mitch McConnell decided to use the National Republican Senatorial Committee to protect her when she left the Republican Party. Remember, she quit the GOP, and Mitch McConnell didn't back the Republican against her. He backed her.
So where does it go from here, right? A lot of people are saying, at what point do you throw in the towel and move on to something that can actually pass, like tax reform or infrastructure? Eric, do you think they stay on health care? I mean, President Obama is doubling down on this, saying, no, we're not through with this yet. Or do you say we got to move on?
Well, I think they do need to move on, but I think we need to remember that they could call this back up at any time. If the president did get rid of the federal government subsidy on congressional insurance, then I think it would build pressure on them. Remember, Barack Obama gave Congress a federal government subsidy to cover the cost of their insurance. Take it away, it dries up the cost on both them and their employees, and that would build pressure internally to go back to this vote.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying this is exactly why it's time to drain the swamp. There's no accountability for Congress, Eric. Zero.
Yeah, there's none. You've got a 95% reelection rate.
Yep.
If the president really wants to make a difference, he could go campaign against some of these Republicans in primaries.
Wow, wouldn't that be interesting to see? Because you haven't seen a whole lot of support, as much as people would have liked, among Republicans behind President Trump. So that would be really fascinating to see play out come the midterms. Eric, really good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All right, coming up, Reince Priebus ready to declare his biggest accomplishment during his time in the White House. Hear from him just straight ahead. And is the PC college culture about to infiltrate our elementary schools? The debate whether to give your kids a lesson in social justice. That